Are you longing to make a difference for Christ in today's digital world, but maybe you're struggling with how to do it? Well, if that's you, you are in the right place today because my friend Daphine Bush is living proof that when we stay true to our values and follow God's leading, He can use our unique gifts in unexpected places. Daphne's journey from a small town girl in Louisiana to becoming a faith-based fashion influencer with hundreds of thousands of followers is nothing short of inspirational. Growing up in a loving but financially modest home, Daphne never imagined that she'd one day be partnering with major brands, inspiring thousands of women to embrace both faith and fashion. From her early days of leading impromptu Bible studies in high school to her current role as pastor alongside her husband, Daphne's path has been marked by bold obedience and a passion for connecting people to God. But it wasn't until she stepped into the world of social media influencing that she truly found her unique platform for ministry. Fast forward to today, and Daphne is revolutionizing what it means to be an influencer. She believes that style is not void of class and integrity, but rather encompasses both. She challenges the notion that faith and fashion are incompatible, and through her content, she's created a safe space for women to explore modest yet stylish fashion while deepening their relationship with God. In this conversation, Daphne opens up about the challenges of navigating the influencer space as a believer, the importance of staying true to your values, and how she's learned to use her platform as a ministry tool. She shares powerful insights on balancing family life with a growing brand, the unexpected ways that God has provided through her work, and why she believes there's room for everyone to thrive in their God-given gifts. So, whether you're an aspiring influencer, a creative looking to integrate your faith into your work, or just someone that's looking to be a light online, Daphne's wisdom will leave you encouraged, challenged, and inspired to shine your light boldly in every sphere of influence. So get ready for an uplifting and inspiring conversation with the fabulous Daphine Bush. Enjoy. Trust me, I get it. You're feeling the pressure to keep your faith separate from your work, worried that pursuing your God-given dreams might be seen as selfish or misguided. Here's what I've discovered. Our faith isn't a liability in our leadership. As a matter of fact, it's the source of our strength and wisdom. The real challenge is navigating how to boldly pursue our purpose while staying anchored in our faith. And that's exactly what the Beacon Show is all about. Each week, we bring you biblical wisdom and practical strategies from true beacons, Christian leaders who are illuminating the world. And it's also that you can let your light shine brighter and brighter. I'm Tamara Jackson, and this is The Beacon Show. All right, Daph, welcome to The Beacon Show, where wisdom meets faith and success finds its voice. Thank you so much for making the time to be here with us today and tell us a little bit about your journey. I'm excited to actually have the opportunity to meet you. I've seen your content on Instagram and how fabulous you always look, by the way. And I just know that this conversation will be a blessing to our audience. So thank you for making the time.
Thank you for having me, Tam. I'm so excited to be here. I love sharing just what God has done in my life and who I am, in hopes that someone else can grab a hold of some of the information and see that God can do the same thing for them. So really excited to be here. So a little bit about me. I am 43 years old. I'll be 44 in a couple weeks. And I am an influencer. I am a faith, fashion, and a lifestyle influencer, to be specific. And I'm a mother, a wife, a sibling. I love God. I love God's people. And I love to connect with people any way that I can connect with them. So originally from Louisiana. I live in Houston, Texas right now. Whoop, whoop. So I'm excited about being here. I am a city girl. I grew up in the country, but I'm a city girl. And I love Houston. Love it here. So that's just a little bit about me.
Yeah, thank you for bringing our viewing and listening audience up to speed on the person that you are today. Would you mind going back in time a little bit for us Sometimes we see where a person is and we're fans. Like I'm a fan of the content that you put out, and how you show up and represent Christ. But it's always interesting to go back in time and really understand how a person grew up and how it shaped their faith and their journey. So take us back in time, wherever you would like to start. What was childhood like for you?
Okay, well, so I am the oldest of 6 children. I have amazing, amazing parents. My mother's actually deceased now, but she was phenomenal. My father, he is just an amazing, extraordinary man. And I believe a lot of who I am, I have to attribute it to the way I was raised. The oldest of 6 children, I was used to kind of being the first to do everything, the first to, it was just embedded in me as being young to be an example, to be a light. We were raised in a home filled with love, filled with godliness. That's all I saw. Saw my parents interacting in faith and love and godliness before us. Never saw them do things that exhibited a bad example. So naturally, I just wanted to emulate that. I want to be like what I saw. You know, we didn't have a lot growing up. We grew up what most people would say poor, but when I tell you we were rich in faith, rich in love, the home was filled with it. And my father is blind, been blind since he was 16, so he never saw any of us, any of my my 5 siblings and myself, and or even my mother. But the example that we saw was just so beautiful, and it inspired me in so many different ways. And I'll tell you one thing that I believe comes from my dad, is I'm musically inclined. So I grew up loving music, loving just learning, singing, things like that. Never formally trained to do any of those things, but I grew up in the church singing. I grew up encouraging and ministering to people. So I think that kind of moved me into what I'm doing right now with inspiring people and influencing people, just being able to be that sort of person in my own sphere of influence in my church and my home. I think that's kind of like what played into me wanting to do what I'm doing right now, just to inspire and encourage other people. I think that the faith that I have and the way that I see life and the way that I see the things of God comes from my parents, and growing up, going to sleep and hearing the Bible playing, waking up to my parents praying and crying out to God in the middle of the night. Just my foundation is just so embedded in the Word of God and being what God called us to be. And I just so badly want people to realize how important that is and how you can have that in anything that you do. Everything can stem from that, you know. So that's a little bit more about my childhood and how I grew up.
That's so powerful, because you didn't grow up with the proverbial silver spoon. You didn't have all the advantages. As a matter of fact, you and your family were up against some pretty serious obstacles. But it sounds like you said grew up with a lot of love. And I love how your parents set such a positive example for you, not just in words, but they made decisions like having the Bible playing at night. You could hear them praying. So they led by example.
Yes.
You said that as you were a child, you realized that you were musically inclined, and you also had a gift to inspire and encourage others. Do you remember the first time that you realized that there might be something to this, that maybe I have a voice that can impact others?
Yes. Oh my God, do I? So I gave my life to God at 16. Grew up in church, but when I actually committed my life to God, I was 16 years old. I was a junior in high school, and I played all the sports. A lot of people knew me, but I wouldn't say that I was anybody significant at the time to myself. But I remember when I first gave my life to God, like that following weekend, after that weekend, I came back to school. And I remember sitting in this, what we would call the square. It was a LaGrange High School in Lake Charles, Louisiana. I remember sitting in the square during lunchtime, getting ready to go and get my lunch. And I remember stopping and looking out into the square where everybody was standing after eating lunch, everybody just standing out, congregating. And I remember looking out and I remember thinking to myself, all of these people, I wonder how many of them know God. And I was just looking out, just looking at every little sect of people, like all the jocks and all the athletes and all of the cheerleaders and everybody in their sections and interacting. And I'm just looking out and I'm like, God, they don't know you. And I began to pray while I was sitting there. I said, Lord, I said, lead me and guide me and give me the strength to go out and witness for you. And I just felt this urge to just get up. I said, I will give up my lunch period, Lord. I said, just use me. And I got up in that moment and I went to a friend of mine. Her name was Elena. And her and I had gotten saved together. And I said, these people don't know God and I'm getting ready to go start a Bible study on campus. And she was like, what? I said, yeah. She said, okay. So I said, you go that way and I'm going to go this way. And now we started inviting people just on a whim like that. I said, just meet me over here. We had like a little statue, a gator. And I said, meet me over here by the gator and we're going to talk about God. And I just started telling people to come out. And some people laughed and they were like, girl, but some people came. And I just began to preach the gospel just from my spirit, just from my heart, out of my passion. And I started that my junior year. And I went through doing that my junior year all the way to my senior year. And the end of my senior year, we had hundreds of people coming to that Bible study. I remember times being up just talking about God and sharing with the young people about what God had done for me and who he was. And I remember looking out and seeing teachers with their windows open and students hanging out of the windows trying to hear what we were saying. People coming to our lunch period just to see what was happening because a lot of them didn't know it was a Bible study. They thought it was just like a fight happening or they just saw a crowd. But people were coming out. And I think that's when I realized that is something that God put in me that I need to put out there. And that's how it started for me. And I can say honestly, every phase of my life that has been the thread, where God is impressing on me to speak his word, to inspire, to share, to let people know that it's more to life than what you're facing. It's more to life than what you think life is. And it has everything to do with your connection with God. And that's how it started for me. I did that through high school, went to college, did the same thing, started a Bible study on campus, left there, got married, moved to Houston, Texas. And another thing I want to share that I think is important and I think it can inspire someone else. My husband and I, we met in church. We dated 4 years, both virgins, and never even kissed until the day we got married because of God. Not because we're better than anybody else, not because we were superhuman, but we committed ourselves to God and God kept us. And we've been married. It'll be 21 years in June. And when I tell you, it has been the most amazing journey, even through hard times. The anchor of our relationship has been our relationship with God. And I'm so grateful for that. Yeah.
That's a testimony.
Yeah. That's him. That's all God. It's all him.
Funny.
All him.
Wow. So much in that. I wonder when you were looking out and you were seeing all of your classmates and you were wondering, if they knew God, and then it was impressed upon you, hey, I can do something because you actually took responsibility in this moment. It is, I can have an opportunity to lead them to Christ.
Yes.
Was there any fear, any hesitation, any wondering they're going to think I'm crazy? And if so, how did you move past that?
I absolutely had all the normal, natural thoughts. I had all of they're going to say you're crazy, like nobody's going to listen to you. This is foolishness. But that lasted about 0.2 seconds. The passion and the urge that I had on the inside of me to do that was led by God. I know it because it superseded everything else that I felt. And I just moved from that unction. And when I did it, I'm so glad I did because students were writing me anonymous letters and slipping it in my locker saying, pray for me. This is going on at home. I need help. Can you tell me how to do this? Can you please, lead me through this situation that I'm in? All those types of things started happening because I took a stand and I did what I felt God was telling me to do. I had all the opposition that everybody else had. I got spit on. I got cursed out. I even got slapped at one point for ministering the word of God. I had a lot of opposition, but what I got on the other side of my obedience couldn't compare. Could not compare.
Amen. So do it anyway.
Do it anyway.
Position. Do it anyway.
Yes.
Because it, even though there were challenges, I can't imagine the slap that
oh yeah.
That's tough. And you also got all of the letters and the prayer requests and all of that. And sometimes we can get so focused on the things that are feeling negative that we don't give credence to all of the great things that are happening. It sounds like you were able to, as you were going through high school and into college, you were able to stay focused on the positive and the people that were being impacted versus getting caught up by those that were detractors and try to discourage you. And and knowing what I know about reading about your story, that was just the beginning of taking that stance of, you know what, everyone might not be on board with what God is calling me to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. Now, I didn't know about you and your husband. So 4 years of dating, is that what I heard?
4 years of dating, 2 years engaged.
Wow. Okay. So talk to us now, because
sure. Yeah.
That's a whole thing in terms of practical strategies.
Oh, yeah.
For spiritual strategies too, but practically for those maybe, and maybe they're not in the season of life that you were in at that time. Because I imagine that you got probably in your 20s or so.
We got married at 23, so we started 18-ish. Yeah.
18-ish. Okay, 18. So it could be this, someone's listening at that age, or it could
older.
Be someone that's 40. So talk to us. What are some of the things that you guys put into place to be able to hold fast to that commitment that you had made to God and to each other?
I think the biggest thing is we understood, number one, what do we want? What do we want? We understand that we're a couple. We understand that we have feelings. We understand that we love each other. But what is love? Is love just doing what you want? Or is love considering the outcome for both parties? Is love looking on the things of others? And the template that we use is God's word. Whatever his word says, both of us in our hearts, not in words, but in our heart, desire to maintain that standard. And whatever came to try to, change that or try to alter that, we understood this is the standard and we don't want nothing else. We understood that loving one another is sacrifice. Loving one another is looking on the needs of one another. So if it was times, my husband actually lived in Houston and I lived in Louisiana at the time. And he was driving up to Lake Charles to see me, it seemed like every weekend, but at least twice a month he was coming down to see me, even when I was going to college in Lafayette, Louisiana, which was about another hour or so added to his travel. So he was traveling up to Lafayette when I was in college, even to see me. And, we're in college, so people are like, y'all dating? Like, what y'all doing? Where y'all going? And the things that we did were a little bit different from people that were dating, like they say in the world, or without that desire to really please God in their relationship. And we didn't do things to create provisions for us to fail, to fall. We didn't do things that could have put us in compromising situations. But we didn't lack anything in the building of our relationships. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I can't wait to, oh my God, it wasn't like that. We enjoyed each other. We got to know each other. We actually cultivated a real bond and relationship that I'm so grateful for. because we counsel a lot of relationships now. When I see most of the areas that have the most difficulty in these relationships is trust. It's, they don't know each other. They're not really connected in heart. We're connected in heart. So we don't even have to be doing anything. We're just like happy to be looking at each other. And I think that comes from just how we cultivate our relationship. And the goal was to please God, not ourselves. Mm. So that's the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. I hear this theme of mindset, managing your mind. It keeps showing up even in this.
Yeah.
You could have allowed your mind to think of this as, well, I'm not getting to do this, I'm not getting to do that. But you guys, no. You focused on, here are the benefits that are going to come out of this. I'm going to be living in a way that's pleasing to God. This is what we want. So managing, I think that's a huge lesson for our viewing and listening audience, managing your mindset and not allowing the outside influences or even your own desires to take control.
Yes.
You're proactively working your mindset.
Yes. And perspective. That's the biggest thing. All my friends tell me, when we want perspective and good perspective, they call me. Even if they don't want to hear it, they're like, we already know. But that's the biggest thing. Our perspective was, we're not missing out on anything, not doing these things. Yeah. So it didn't look like we were being deprived. Because that's where most people go into, well, I'm going to do it now. Because I don't have to suffer. I don't have to wait. But it don't even have to be like suffering. It could just be like, okay, in time, I'll be able to do this. And that it's going to be in its proper season. I tell a lot of young people and old people alike, I'm like, if you're in a relationship, nothing done prematurely benefits us. It rarely benefits us. So if you're going to do something, do it in its proper season. Then you'll get all the benefits of what you're supposed to receive when doing that. Like, why go and do something prematurely and then have to, because if you do it prematurely, you may have it, but it's not going to yield the benefits of what it's designed to give you.
Amen. Yeah, that's good. Right. And we want the full benefits. We don't want half or a quarter. We want it all. And sometimes it means patiently waiting until the appointed time. I love
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely.
So you and your husband stay committed to your values. You get married. What does the career path look like for you at that point? You recognized early on that you had a voice, you had an ability to influence others. So what did you end up doing? What was your first career?
So I was in college. I went to college for like about a year and a half. And while I was on campus, I was ministering and like sharing the gospel. And also, like I told you earlier, I love people. I love connecting with people. So I started doing hair, and I was doing that in high school at my mom's house, but I really started gravitating towards really making a career out of being a cosmetologist. So I was in college for about a year and a half, like I said, and then I was like, I'm going to go to hair school. So I stopped going to college and I went to hair school. And that is actually what I've done for the last 25 years or so. I've been a hairstylist, have my own salon. And again, same common thread there, where I'm behind the chair and I'm praying for and I'm loving on and I'm encouraging and building up and inspiring. That is the essence of what I'm doing, but the entire time that I'm doing hair. So that is the career path that I took. And my husband, he went to the Art Institute of Houston, and he actually ended up being a carpenter. So he's a carpenter by trade now, and that's what he does. So we both own our own businesses, and that's what we do.
Yeah. So I'm curious now, because both of you guys have these, express it in different ways, these creative skills, right?
Yes.
So do you guys ever feed off of each other, help each other, like brainstorm in each other's businesses? How do you support each other in your pursuits?
Yes. One of the biggest things is we sing each other's praises. Like I know a lot of people, I connect with a lot of people doing hair and also with influencing, and people, they're looking for carpenters. They're looking for people that are in the arts, because my husband, like I said, he draws very well. He's very artistic, logos, all of those types of things. He's very good at it. And so anytime I'm able to connect other people with what he does, it's a win-win for us, you know. And likewise him, with doing hair, like when I'm coming home and I may be a little bit burdened or overwhelmed by some of the people that I met and what I've encountered that day, he just nurtures me in a way that I just can't even explain, with building me back up so that I can put out again. I think we both have we understand how to discern where we are, even in our career. So we know what's necessary at the moment to kind of build us up. You know, even my husband, he's around a lot of, it's male dominated. It's a lot of men, and a lot of times the people he's dealing with, they are kind of hostile in some sense. They're frustrated a lot, you know, and he is the calm in the storm. Like Jonas is, I always tell him, like, nothing moves you. Like, you could just be, a tornado will be going on around him. You'd be like, look at that tornado. Like, that's him. Like, he's very, very, he definitely is an amazing guy. But I think we just kind of, after all these years, we know how to minister to the needs of each other. And we just go in and do it. We just do it.
That's awesome. It's great to have that type of support system. So you started out in cosmetology. Your husband took the path of carpentry. Now you guys have stepped into a new chapter of ministry. And then somewhere along the lines, you decided to go the influencer path. So what happened? What was the path for you guys going from cosmetology and carpentry to pastors now?
Yes. It's so interesting. I never would have you couldn't have told me this would happen. But it's interesting because God said it would happen, and I totally forgot about it. The day of our wedding, I'm being honest with you, the church we grew up in, our bishop at the time actually prayed for us when we got married, and God spoke through him. And God spoke to us and said, I'm going to put you over a body of people. And he spoke how us saving ourselves, how God was going to bless us for the route that we took, and how we chose to make him first in our lives, and how we would minister to couples, and how we would really establish people in God. And I totally forgot about that prophecy until maybe about a year ago. And I was like, oh my God, that's happening. And the name of our church is called Body of Christ Houston. I think that's interesting too, because he said a body of people. So just to see what God is doing right now, my father-in-law is actually a bishop, and we have a campus in Dallas, Fort Worth, and that's where the church was. And we were traveling back and forth to Dallas with our family, you know, going to church, supporting. And then my father-in-law comes to us and he's like, hey, we're going to start a work in Houston. He said, because the people are hungry there. And I was like, say what? And he was like, and you and Jonas are going to be pastor. And I was like, excuse me? Because I'm a singer. Like, I'm used to singing in church, you know, that comes naturally to me. But pastoring, I was like, huh? But, you know, we prayed and we sought God, and we absolutely embraced the call. And to see the fruit of that, it brings me to tears quite often to see what God is doing. And it all makes sense. All the dots in my life, when I look back on it, the Bible studies, and always feeling like I, you know, was ministering to people. Like, all my friends are like, girl, this is so, one of my friends, Shay Monet, she's an influencer. She goes, this is so on brand for you, Daphne. This is so on brand. And I'm like, on brand. But I'm like, you know what? I can see his hand in all of this, and it's nothing more settling than to see God's hand, his imprint on every aspect of your life, and how he just pulls it all together and say, this is still my will. Yeah. You're still in the vein. You know, that's so beautiful. And that's where we are right now with our church, and even influencing. You know, I started influencing 2017, but I didn't become really, I would say, efficient at it and successful at it until probably about 3-4 years ago. And it has been beautiful to even see the dots that God connected in the influencer space with ministry. You know, I'm posting about clothing and I'm sharing ideas and things like that. But at the core of it, in my inbox, we're praying. We're in the word. I actually met a friend of mine I never met. I did a conference for her and it was virtual. Went to Jersey last week and I had an opportunity to finally meet her for the first time. And I met her online. Never saw her. She didn't know me. She just saw my content and was like moved to talk to me about it and invited me to come speak. And I did. And she was so blessed. And I got to literally meet her and embrace her on Saturday. And it was like, God, you're just so amazing. It was beautiful.
It is beautiful. And I can see why. You know, as I said, I am a fan of your content. I love how you seamlessly integrate faith and fashion, which some might think that's hard to do.
Oh,
but guys, if you don't follow Simply Deb, you need to make sure you follow the links and you do it because you will see it because you're always, I don't think I've ever seen a post of yours where you are not in some way pointing people to Jesus. Now you're slaying. You look great. Your hair looks but you're pointing people to Jesus. And so I want to talk a little bit about your creative process. So how do you create content? Now, I know there's a heavy spiritual component to this. So whatever that answer looks like for you, talk to us about how you create content.
I will tell you, my daughter is amazing. She has an eye. She has she's filled with wisdom. So I have to attribute some of what I do to her. We partner. She comes and, you know, if I'm thinking about something that I want to portray, I want to put out there, she's like, no, Mom, let's try this. Or what do you think about that? You know, so we partner in our thoughts about what would be best for me to put out and for me to convey in terms of my content. Of course it's a heavy spiritual impact on everything that I do. But I also understand, just like Paul said, in order to reach the Jews, you may have to become one. So I always try to incorporate wisdom in what I'm doing, but I never, ever want to leave from my values. And I'm so grateful that strangers, people I don't even know, when I see them in the stores or I meet them. When I went to Jersey, they were all saying the same thing and it made me leave away just weeping and crying. They all said the same thing. When I see your content, girl, you look amazing. You look cute. I love what you're wearing, but you're so humble. Like they can see humility from the images. And that matters to me. They can see that it's not just me trying to put myself out there. Like they can interpret the resistance to self, but the portrayal or the push of this is what God could do if you let him do it. And you can be cute too. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not trying to draw people to myself, although that's what some people suggest. I had a lot of opposition when I first started influencing, honestly, from people that were Christians. Like a lot of pushback, a lot of, you can't do faith and fashion. Girl, what's wrong with you? That ain't godly. I had all of that. I got talked about. I got dragged. Some people still talking. But what they're saying now is, okay, it can be done with integrity. And it can. And I see now, you know, I can see some people doing it. And I'm so excited about it because I could see how God allowed me to go and take those stripes first so that somebody else maybe don't have to take them, you know? So I'm grateful. I love it. I love what I do.
Yes. I can tell it. I can tell it that by the way that you create your content. And that's a huge lesson for our audience too, is that you're not doing it alone. Even though you are the face of the brand, you have a team, because even
my family,
your husband is encouraging you and provides the support that you need.
Yes.
Partner is helping you to come up with ideas.
Yes.
You're collaborating it together. That's the final.
You have to have a team. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's huge. Yeah. I'm curious about the detractors. So you were hearing, you know, I'm sure there was some people that were supporting and encouraging you. And there were also we call them the trolls that have so much. There's that in your mind to not, because this is old hat for you. You're constantly having to do this throughout your life, but practically for people that really struggle, because a lot of people are afraid to show up online because of the trolls. Handle it.
I think the biggest thing is understanding, like I said, what you want, not trying to be or do anything that is opposite from who you are as well. When people said things, I heard a minister say this one time and it stuck with me. Just make sure whatever they're saying is not true. Because if it's true, then it can move you. But if it's not, then it won't move you. They said a lot of things about Jesus. And if he was moved with everything people said, he would have stopped doing what God told him to do. And I think what keeps me focused and what keeps me encouraged and inspired in my own life is I'm always going back to what is true. I'm always going back to, okay, if I hear, well, she trying to make it about herself, or, I mean, this is somebody that's a narcissist, and all of these kinds of things. They're just trying to draw attention to themselves. When I sit down and I examine and I know that's not true, then I can settle down with that and it doesn't have to impact me because it's not true. But if it is true, if anything has ever been said that is true, you know what I did? Adjusted it. Fixed it.
Yeah.
But a lot of what was being implied was just because what I was doing was different from what they saw me do before. You know, they knew Daphne standing up on the mic singing, and now here I am, you know, posting a picture of myself, and it's clothes as the focus.
Yeah.
It's, you know what I'm saying? So it looks like, well, that's not God. That's deterring people from God, and it's drawing attention to herself. But when they begin to peel the layers back, and I always say this, people can't do anything with a consistent character. If you keep being the same, you stay the same way, you keep letting it go, the glory go back to God. What can they say about that? It's going back to God. I don't want it. You know, I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm looking at it as a means to reach people that other people may not be able to reach. I may not reach them behind the mic. Some people go and find my YouTube and they connect that way. Some people find my Instagram and they find their way to my inbox and ask me for prayer after looking at a skirt, looking at some shoes. You know what I'm saying? We talking about God for 3 hours and you just saw a post. You know, so it's wisdom and it's inspiration, and God can use you in any field if what you're really trying to do is to connect with people and allow him to work through you, not you. Because it's not me. I'm yielded, literally in my heart, yielded to him. If he tells me to stop influencing, I'll stop. If he tells me to stop singing, I'll stop. But at this moment, in this time in my life, he's the one fueling what I'm doing. So I'm moving with him.
I love that. I love that. Such great advice. Let's talk about influencing as a means of income, because it's the part of what helps provide for you and your family. Now, you started off, you made this decision to influence, you've got these detractors, but you're continuing to show up. Give us a sense, how long did it take before it actually started producing fruit in the form of income? And what did it look like for you?
It's so funny. When I first started, I honestly didn't start to try to make money. I didn't even know that you could really make a living doing this. Like, I just wanted, again, to connect with people. This is a means to connect. That's what I was doing. That's where it started. I love to write. I love to connect. So that's what I was doing. But after about 2 years, I would say, I was making like money here and there before these 2 years. But right when the pandemic happened, I will never forget. I remember my best friend calling me and she was just like, everything's getting ready to shut down. And I was like, what? I won't be able to do hair. I had just left my salon. So I was like, my husband and I are both like our income is unpredictable. We're business owners, and both of us go outside of our homes to do the work that we do. So I just was like, God, what? Like, how are we going to do this? And I began to pray. And I was just like, God, you got to lead me. Like, what? And then I began to watch some of the different brands reaching out to connect with us as influencers. And the route they were taking at the time was creating content in the home. I was used to going outdoors and taking my little pictures. And, you know, now I'm like, in the home. Oh, Lord. But I just started. I saw the wave. I said, God, you got to give me wisdom and you got to lead me. And I began to create content and connect with brands. I actually had an agency reach out to me, which never happened before. And I didn't have that many followers at the time. I think I had like 13,000 followers, something like that. And the agency reached out to me and they were like, there's something about you. Like, we want to connect with you and we would love to represent you. And I'm thinking, I'm not making that much money at this time. They were like, let's just do a trial run and we'll see how you like it. I was like, okay, hey, lose. I made more money during the pandemic than I made the whole prior 2 years.
Wow.
I was making some good money, like over $100,000 that year. Like the next year, the following year was beyond amazing, like over 200,000 that year, just influencing. So I was like, okay, I didn't even go to my salon that much. Like I was like, oh yeah, I'll do hair on the weekends. You know what I'm saying? But I was able to
do hair.
Yeah, I was able to do so much. Like even though we were on lockdown, like I was able to produce more content than ever. My family and that's when we really realized, okay, this is a family thing. I told my kids, I said, listen, if you have any desires, you have things that you want, things that you desire, I said, you pray and you take it to God. And I believe that through this, you'll be able to acquire those things. And everything my kids desired, my children wanted to redo their rooms. And one of the brands that we all loved was Pottery Barn. And I was able to work with them for like a year and a half. And they were able to get their rooms totally redone. And it was amazing. So many opportunities. My daughter, she wanted braces. We got to do Invisalign, like everything that they desired. I said, if you allow God to use you in this space, I said, God is going to bless you with the things that you desire. And every one of them, if I let them talk to you, they'll say, you know what? If they want something, they're like, Mom, can you pitch this brand? And I'm like, yeah. So, and I'm so grateful to see opportunities that we've gotten to work with just some brands that I just love. And I'm really a fan of, and I've been able to work with them through this. So I'm really grateful.
That's huge. I heard a couple of things. One, you prayed and asked God for guidance on how to approach this. And do some things differently because you said you're doing it outside. Now you got to go in the home. There wasn't a whole lot of excitement around that initially.
No.
But you pivoted. You brought the family into it. And I also heard that the brands that you ended up partnering with were brands that you admired. You already liked and appreciated. And then you staying true to your values actually is what started this whole thing. They saw something in you, wasn't something that you were trying to create to attract a certain brand, but you were holding fast to who you were. And that was attractive to the right brands. So much. And as we prepare to wrap up, I'm always amazed at how quick this time goes. Someone who maybe do recognize, hey, I have a voice, I can influence people, and I'd like to be able to represent Christ and earn an income. What is the number one piece of advice that you would give that person who's watching or listening to us today, based on your experience?
I think the biggest thing is staying true to your values. Like, don't move. Don't move off of your values. Make sure that who you're being online is who you are in real life. So you won't have any conflict when you're creating the content. When you're putting things together, it'll feel seamless. It'll be seamless. When you put it out, it won't be like, that's not really them. You know what I'm saying? Like, actually being who you are, because that's what people want to see. I love meeting people in public and they're like, oh my God, you're just as nice in real life. And I'm like, well, I hope so. So really staying true. Staying true to who you are, asking God for guidance, because I had to do that a lot in this space, because it's a lot of things. It's a lot of brand deals I passed up because they just did not align with me. You will not see me with a bikini on. I'm so sorry. I'm not doing it. Like, I will not. Even some of the clothing, it has to feel good to me. It has to align with who I am and who God has made me to be. So that's the biggest thing. Praying, seeking God, asking him for wisdom, and inquiring of him, like, God, is this what you want me to do? Because there's a lot of things I desire to do. I want to travel. Like, I want to just get in a plane and do travel content. But that's not what he's calling me to do. And I have to be okay with that. I'm not, you just going out and forcing something because it's what you want will always get you in trouble. Align with him, and whatever you do, you'll have his hand in it. You'll have him guiding you. And it's nothing safer than that when you're doing whatever you're doing.
Amen. I love that. When all is said and done, Daph, and when you are sitting back and looking over your life, what is it that you would like to be remembered for?
Oh, Lord. I want that when people encounter me in any facet, whether that be online or in person, in my chair, when I'm up singing, I want them, when they encounter me, they encounter God. I want them to leave away from my presence going, I felt and experienced the love of God. Like, I want it to be tangible. I want them to walk away going, God is real. I can't explain it, but I know he is, because I met somebody that exuded him. That's what I desire. That's my greatest desire.
Well, I can tell you from the little time that I have spent with you, what I have seen online, you do exude the love of Christ. And I just want to thank you on behalf of those that don't get an opportunity to do it, to thank you for how you shine a light in a space that can be very dark. You show us that it is possible to serve God and be fashionable and wear the many hats and the roles that you play. You do it well in a way that honors God. So thank you for spending time with us today and sharing all of your wisdom. We'll make sure that our viewing and listening audience is able to connect with you online, and we wish you God's best in all that he has in store for you, both now and in the future, because we never know what the future holds.
And thank you so much, Tam. I appreciate you so much. And this opportunity is tremendous, and I'm grateful for it.